Learn about working with Azure Logic Apps inside of Visual Studio 2017 in this edition of Azure Tips and Tricks. You might already know that you could work with Azure Logic Apps from inside of the Azure portal, but did you know that you could also do so from inside of Visual Studio? One of the things that you could do is open Extensions and Updates, go to Online, and you can search for the Logic Apps Visual Studio extension. Now notice I have this green check mark. Well, that's because I already have this extension installed. If I'd like to create a new Logic app inside of Visual Studio, I'll go to File New Project, and under the Cloud section, I'll select Azure Resource Group. I'll give it a name, and I'll say OK. On the left side, I'll see a collection of templates. I'll select the Logic App template. Now in a few minutes, Visual Studio will scaffold out a project for me that allow me to start working with Logic Apps right here inside of my editor. On the right side, you'll see we have a collection of files. The first one, deploy-Azure Resource Group. Well, this is a PowerShell script that you could use to actually deploy your Logic app. Here at the bottom, I have another file called logicapp.json, and this is where the definition of our Logic App Designer will actually live. I'm going to right-click on this, and I'm going to select Open with Logic App Designer. Now I'm going to select the Azure portal subscription that I want to use. I'll select the resource group that I want to put it in, and now I'll just hit OK. In no time at all, I'll have what kind of looks like a very similar experience to what we see inside of the Azure portal. I could create my various steps, add new actions and conditions, and even edit existing settings and add comments, just like we could inside of the portal. When I'm ready to deploy this app, I can right-click on my Logic app inside of Visual Studio, and I can just hit Deploy. And notice here, I have the resource group that we selected a few minutes ago. And that's how you can get started easily with working with Azure Logic Apps inside of Visual Studio using the Logic Apps Visual Studio extension.